Couldn't imagine being sentenced to do a minstrel show. Episode 4 of Interview with the Vampire just dropped, and this frame is a perfect representation of how I felt watching. Spoilers if you aren't up to date. There was definitely some color added to Armand and Louis' relationship. It's easy to interpret Louis as a perpetual victim of love. We see that Louis has way more control over his circumstances, which makes Claudia's story all the more tragic. I felt conflicted watching Louis' Parisian joy. I was happy to see him live freely and enjoy himself and all that Paris has to offer. I feel like he's sacrificing Claudia to achieve this type of peace. And he's justifying it in his head because this is what Claudia said she wanted. It's clear that this is not good for Claudia and honestly him. Santiago's obviously jealous. Louis is out here running buck wild and they're rubbing it in his face while consistently lying to the coven like they're dumb. I can understand his frustration, particularly since Armand seemed to have been a lot less understanding when it came to other vampires. And now all of a sudden Armand is letting these new vampires run wild. His impersonation of Louis was hauntingly good. And I personally was here for the hard press. I don't know why he picked Chicago. He has the thickest Cajun accent. And I am so happy that Santiago called him out on it. Like, bro, we hear you. We walking around here sounding like the fly from Princess and the Frog, trying to say that he from Chicago, like Big Sean. Armand is tight that Louis won't cuff him up, and I think he's taking it out on Claudia. Santiago makes a note that Armand is a stickler for the coven rules, and that adds perspective to Armand's inner conflict. Not only is Louis breaking laws that Armand created to keep his society in check, but he won't even claim him? Boy, I'd be moving crazy too. Like, you want me to play stepfather to this abomination. You can't even claim me in front of my homies, people who you don't even respect. Like, what's your problem? Him taking it out on Claudia is definitely a sign of weakness, and I'm glad that Louis pointed it out because it's clear to everyone that Armand is bussy whip and it's embarrassing. Taking it out on this woman is unacceptable, and it's crazy that it took so long for Louis to say something. A man of color and a former slave, Armand is so comfortable telling Claudia to shuck and jive. Keep on using words like minstrel to describe this performance by Claudia. While there isn't any racial undertones to the play itself, could definitely be used as an analogy for a young woman having to play a stereotype for a very long time. Claudia knows that they are mocking her and degrading her, and she doesn't like it. I thought she was going to suffer in silence, but she explicitly says on multiple occasions how much she does not like this show and how it makes her feel, and at all times they do not care. He was visibly uncomfortable even the first time he watched it when Claudia was into it. He doesn't say anything until he and Armand are in a fight. I normally don't like when actors come back to play a ghost version of themselves, but this is a rare occasion where it definitely works. Like Louis, we cannot move on from Lestat because he is constantly in our mind reminding us why he loved him in the first place. Like Louis, I have to remind myself how abusive this man is and how much better Louis' life is right now. And it's like, I know Lestat is terrible, but man, that scene in the rain when he's fading away talking about his initials in the soup just melted my heart. Just like Louis, his lingering presence is a huge reason why I cannot connect with Armand as a love interest. Speaking of love interest, am I the only one getting romantic undertones between Claudia and the dressmaker? I think we're gonna find out that her name is Madeline and she's gonna want to turn her into a vampire. I've always been conflicted about the relationship between Claudia and Madeline in the original interpretation because in previous interpretations, Claudia was too physically young to have this relationship be anything other than maternal, which is a little odd because at this point Claudia is an old woman, way older than Madeline. I don't know if this is Madeline, I'm just guessing. And so this is the first time that aging her up adds a little bit more nuance to this relationship. That being said, it's interesting that Claudia is drawn to a woman who slept with Hitler. Maybe there's some truth to what she said about her only choosing the worst options. Daniel is the wildest of boys. He is listening to recordings of the ops in the house of Superhuman, one of which who don't fuck with him. It's clear they're gearing up for a Queen of the Damned spinoff. I just want him to do the research not in their crib. Also, him realizing that Armand wiped his memory is going to shift the way that he moves around the two of them. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. We're playing in my boy Santiago's face a little bit too much. And it's clear that his actions are a grasp for the power that he lost. He is used to being the center of attention attention and the object of everyone's affections. And now Claudia is the star and Louis is the most desired. He sounded ridiculous saying that this man is not that fine though. Like, we know you're hating, you don't have to pretend. This episode, we see everyone flexing their power and trying to assert dominance. Claudia does it by trying to establish a relationship outside the coven. Armand is doing it by punishing Claudia, but also on that date in the art museum, see him floating everywhere where Louis is just walking. He cannot help but flex his power. Tiago's doing it by trapping Claudia and Louis. And Daniel's doing it by helping out this mysterious entity and conducting research that doesn't pertain to the interview. Next episode is about to be messy. I'm not sure that I'm ready for it, but you know, here we are. It just keeps on getting way more tragic and the people keep on getting worse. 4 out of 5 Frankie Flames.